Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? If you missed the latest, Doug Peterson has officially been named the Jaguars head coach. That happened this morning, Friday morning. He is officially now the guy in Jacksonville. Guys won a Super Bowl. He's obviously has Louisiana ties, as we all know. He interviewed with the Saints over this past weekend and had a lot of support. And I think there was some appeal there. There was a lot of appeal because he's a quarterback guy. Remember, he had been with Andy Reid, both in Philly and with the Chiefs before he got the job. In Philly as the head coach, won a Super Bowl, and you're talking about just slightly more than a handful of coaches active in the NFL right now that have won a Super Bowl. So when you've climbed that mountain, there's going to be appeal. So there was appeal to Doug Peterson, but he got the Chiefs job. He got the Jacksonville job officially now, and there was some thought that maybe Byron Leftwich was going to be that guy in Jacksonville. Well, Leftwich might well be content to sit there and wait in Tampa to see if Bruce Arians retires. What if Bruce Arians retires this offseason or waits until after next year and retires in Tampa and Leftwich is the guy there? That's a very natural succession there. And who knows, maybe that conversation's happened in Tampa. The Saints were granted permission to interview Byron Leftwich. Our buddy Mike Triplett reported that, as did Amy Just, that the Saints haven't yet and might not. So perhaps it tells you something else is there with Leftwich in Tampa. Yes, Brian Flores is a name out there, but we've talked about how that just seems like an improbability, if not impossibility, right now with that lawsuit pending. I mean, he's suing the NFL and 3 teams. So how can you possibly make that hire right now? I mean, thankfully I'm not the one that has to make the hire. Whenever Sean Payton first walked away last week, Flores is one of the names we talked about, and I would have been pumped about Brian Flores. I think as a coach, I'm still pumped about the idea of Brian Flores. He won in Miami. He's got 15 years under Bill Belichick, where that was really his only input. You want to create culture. I mean, that's a guy at 40 who maybe you get on the upswing of his career, and he could be here for a decade or longer. I mean, I love that idea. I just don't know that it's even possible now with the lawsuit pending. So you kind of look at your in-house candidates, Allen, Rizzi, and then I kind of count Aaron Glenn, although he's in Detroit right now. But there's a very obvious choice there with Dennis Allen. He's been a head coach. He's been a successful defensive coordinator. He was the interim head coach when Sean Payton was out with COVID. That's the guy that everyone understands is the prohibitive favorite. The name that whenever Sean Payton first announced he was walking away, that we discussed that until today hadn't come up, is Eric Bieniemy. But now it has. And if you've listened to this show, I've talked about Bieniemy for a while now. I am for several years now because of how the coaching cycles have gone in the last few off seasons, how many interviews he has gotten and has never gotten a job. And I think there's this tendency to lean directly to race. I don't know that's it. I don't know that I necessarily believe that that's the sole reason. I don't know the sole reason. I mean, I think that could certainly be a part of it somewhere in the recesses of people's minds. I don't know. Maybe he's not a good interviewer, or maybe he has the luxury of knowing that he's an in-demand candidate and can wait for the right job, not just the next job. Maybe it's got to be the right situation for him to leave KC, where he has so much leverage. And I got news for you. If he goes back to KC, they're going to win a whole bunch of games again next year with Mahomes and with Tyreek Hill and with Kelsey and with Clyde. They're going to win a bunch. And next year, he'll be in the same situation if he doesn't get a job this offseason. Or maybe the opportunity to go to New Orleans, a stable organization with ownership, president, GM, talk about alignment all the time. That exists in New Orleans. Great culture, a franchise that's won consistently over the last 2 decades. Maybe that's just the spot. Maybe that's where Bieniemy ultimately says that if I can get that job, I'll take it. But I don't know. But with Peterson out, here's what I started to consider today. Doug Peterson spent 7 years with Andy Reid. He was with him in Kansas City. He was with him in Philly. When he got fired in Philly and then got the Kansas City job, Peterson went with Andy Reid to KC. So it's 7 years. He was the OC, by the way. He was the offensive coordinator for Andy Reid in Kansas City, and then Peterson got the head coaching job in Philly. We all know he went on to win a Super Bowl there. Eric Bieniemy has been with Andy Reid for 9 seasons. The last handful have been as the OC. Could Bieniemy be following a same path as Peterson, essentially? Guy who was there on staff under Andy Reid, had this really creative, explosive offense as a play caller, known kind of as a quarterback guy as well. Could this be his opportunity? Like Peterson got his in Philly and won a Super Bowl? Maybe. For me, I think this decision comes down to 2 names. It's Dennis Allen and it's Eric Bieniemy. For me, I think that's it. Because Dennis Allen trumps Darren Rizzi, Aaron Glenn, and again, I think Flores would absolutely be there except for the lawsuit. I don't know that I can ignore that. I don't know how you can make that hire with the lawsuit pending. So I'm just, for that reason solely, I'll eliminate Flores in my mind. Although nothing formally like that has come from the Saints. So what it comes down to is 2 coaches who both have a very clear benefit and a very clear negative against them. Dennis Allen, you know the benefit. We've talked about it. You maintain the structure, right? All the things we've talked about. You keep Pete Carmichael. You probably re-sign Jameis Winston. Dennis Allen, second head coaching opportunity. Knows the organization. The defense has been amazing, so you maintain your defense and everything that's been there. You build around it. You re-sign Jameis. You hope that he's healthy, and then you start to build on where you thought you were going to be when you were 5-2 and Jameis went down. Okay. The downside is, if Dennis Allen is the head coach, you're not attracting a top-tier quarterback. We know that. And there could always be that question about the offensive side. If you hire Eric Bieniemy, you absolutely have the opportunity to go after a big-name quarterback in the trade market or in free agency. With Eric Bieniemy, you have the possibility to approach Russell Wilson. You have the opportunity to approach Aaron Rodgers. You can go into this trade market, and you're in an attractive spot for a quarterback who might want to work with that guy, who's been with Mahomes for the last handful of years, who's been in KC, who's helped become the architect of what's been the most high-powered offense. Bieniemy's first year as OC was the year in 2018 when Mahomes threw for 5,000 yards and they had the 3rd highest scoring season in NFL history. They lost the AFC Championship game that year to Brady and the Patriots. But all they've done with Bieniemy as OC is go to 4 straight conference championship games. I mean, you are going to be appealing with that guy. The downside is you uproot the culture. You uproot the structure. You uproot everything that you built so diligently for the last 15, 16 years. Now, it's important to mention the negatives that I've posed with both of these coaches are not deal breakers, and they're not insurmountable. Eric Bieniemy could come in and develop great culture, or he could maintain everything we've talked about. Like, what's to say he wouldn't step in and just keep all of that? He's been in a winning culture in Kansas City where they expect to win. And they've got guys that seem to genuinely like each other and play hard for each other. And he's had good assistants and all that sort of stuff. And similarly, maybe Dennis Allen is brilliant and hires a great offensive coach and they're able to bring in the right guy and they go into this draft and maybe they nail it with their draft pick, or maybe they do develop Jameis into the potential that we all think that some of us think that he's got. I mean, again, it's not insurmountable. But for me, I'll give you I think it's it's going to be one of those guys. And I think the Saints would do very well with either of them. If I had to pick today, I would pick Eric Bieniemy. And I'll tell and for me, the answer why is very easy. I think the Saints could continue winning a lot of games the way that they're constructed right now. I believe it. I think they can win a lot of games. I don't think you're going to win a championship without, we've seen it, without elite level quarterback play. And I believe Eric Bieniemy as your coach gives you the best opportunity to deliver that. Maybe that's not fair to Dennis Allen or Pete Carmichael if he were retained or whatever it may be. But for me, I'm more interested in watching the Saints win another Super Bowl. I think to get there, you've got to have the elite quarterback, the high-powered offense. And I think the best chance to get there is with Eric Bieniemy as your coach. So if he comes in and interviews this weekend and he crushes the interview, I would like to see him get the job. That would be my pick. But I want to be very clear again. If they settle with Dennis Allen, I don't believe, let me reword that because I don't want you to perceive I'm saying they're settling. If ultimately they hire Dennis Allen, I think Dennis Allen would do a tremendous job here. I really genuinely do. And I think could be a championship-winning coach in New Orleans as well. But there's a bigger question with what is the biggest question in the NFL, the biggest seat that you have to fill. That's a bigger question mark with Dennis Allen than it would be with Eric Bieniemy. Hopefully we have an answer soon. We'll certainly talk about it as it develops here. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.